Lactina. Shall we start? Okay. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the fourth day of this week-long science festival called Vighyan Sarvatra Pujyate, organized by Goa University. At this festival, there are going to be a number of lectures, talks, demonstrations, and we even have an expo that is happening at the Jubilee Hall, a little further away. Okay, so at this festival, you'll gain a lot of information, about the current trends in science and technology, and also you'll have some fun because we have some type of participation events where you all will be involved to do some type of activities. Okay. So I would encourage all the students to actively take part in these events, and even in the lectures, ask questions if you all have any doubts or any clarifications if you all have in your mind. You can always ask the resource persons. Okay, so we'll now begin with this session by our first speaker, that is Dr. Sulakshana Vernekar. So I would like to just request Dr. Lactina, the co-coordinator of this event, to escort both the chairperson as well as the resource person on the dais. So first I'll just introduce the chairperson of this session, that is Dr. Jeevan Parab. He is the Associate Professor in Electronics at the School of Physical and Applied Sciences at Goa University. Just to tell you a little bit about Sir, is that he has 15 years of teaching experience, and he has completed his PhD from Goa University with a thesis titled Development of Novel Embedded DSP Architecture for Non-Invasive Glucose Analysis. He has co-authored 4 books published by Springer, okay, which is a very good publishing house, and he has also several publications, more than 50 publications in national and international level journals, as well as conferences, and he is a member of several committees of Goa University, and he has been recently awarded with the Visvesvaraya Young Faculty Award by the Government of India, and he has completed various projects from different funding agencies, as also completed 3 consultancy projects for industries as well. And he also has 3 patents to his credit, and his research interests include embedded system design, signal processing, artificial intelligence, machine learning, biomedical instrumentation, as well as agro-instrumentation. We welcome you, sir, for this session. I would now like to request Sir to kindly introduce the resource person for this session and take over the session.
Thank you, Dr. Avellino. So I welcome all of you for this today's session. So today we have a speaker who will be delivering a talk on AI, artificial intelligence. That is Dr. Sulakshana Vernekar. She is an associate professor in computer science department at GVM's College of Commerce and Economics. She completed her MSc electronics with the first rank, and also she completed a PhD in electronics from the Goa University. She has more than 25 years of undergraduate teaching experience along with 11 years of postgraduate teaching experience. Her specialization is in the area of computer applications, agroelectronics, instrumentation, and artificial intelligence, especially for agricultural related problems. So she had published more than 16 publications in various journals. She also attended several conferences and presented her research works at those conferences. And she is also approved PhD guide at Goa University. And she had also worked as a contributed teacher at the Department of Electronics for the period 2006 to 2017. And she is also a member of various committees at her college. So I request Dr. Sulakshana to deliver her talk and enlighten our audience. Okay. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Jeevan. Good morning to all of you. I will try to make this talk very interesting since all of you are school kids and I will try to build your interest in the field of artificial intelligence. Okay, my talk is basically on what is artificial intelligence, the basic introduction to it, and how we can apply it into agricultural sector for increasing the production in the agricultural sector. Okay, so that is the nature of my talk. So the outline of my presentation is, first we will be discussing what is artificial intelligence, then what are the goals of artificial intelligence, the types of artificial intelligence, what are the advantages and disadvantages of artificial intelligence, what has led to the boom in artificial intelligence. Then we will switch over to the next part of the talk, that is on AI in agriculture, how it is going to benefit the agricultural sector and what are the already existing applications that are used in the agricultural sector. Okay, so we will be looking into this. So before I start with the presentation, I will try to make the session quite interactive, so I want you to answer me. So how many of you, this question is to the school kids, how many of you are interested in science? Okay, so we have almost most of the kids interested in science. Okay, now to develop your interest, more interest in this particular area, okay, there are various areas in science which you can work upon and become experts in that particular area. Okay, so if you start working on it right now, from the time right now, you will be becoming experts by the time you become you go into your 20s. Okay, so can anybody tell me what is intelligence? What do you mean by intelligence? Are human beings intelligent animals? Are we intelligent? Yes or no? No? Are we not intelligent? Yes. So what do you mean by intelligence? If I come and slap one of you, what you will do? What will be your reaction to that? First reaction will be, you will be angry, or some of you will be very hurt and you will start crying. Okay, now after some time you may start thinking why I came and slapped you. Okay, so you are trying to analyze what was the reason for that action of mine, and then once you try to analyze, you start to reason out why it happened. Okay, and then after all this analysis you come to a certain conclusion. Now this is your thinking capacity which makes you to do this analysis, and that thinking capacity can be called as intelligence. In some human beings, generally it is said that intelligence is an inherent characteristics of a person, but sometimes what happens is we are not developing that IQ level of us to that particular level which we have inherited. So to continuously work upon your increasing your IQ levels, you have to keep on reading, you have to keep on solving some brain puzzles, all kind of activity which gives exercise to your brains you have to do. Okay, so that will take your intelligence to that level with which you are born. Okay, now what do you mean by artificial? What is artificial? What is artificial? you get in the market so many artificial things. Okay, so what are those artificial things? Okay, you have another example I can give you is you have heard about artificial flowers. So what do you mean by artificial flowers? Yeah, so anything that is man-made is termed as artificial. Okay, so when we say artificial intelligence, okay, it is a branch of computer science which is trying to mimic the human brain. So mimic the human brain means it is trying to make the computer act like how our brain works. Okay, so this particular branch of, it is a branch of computer science. So using this AI techniques, we can make a computer or a computer controlled robot or a software think intelligently. Now what is a computer? You might have heard about the term garbage in, garbage out. When we refer to a computer, this term also is used for the computer. So what it means is a computer does only those tasks that you are asking it to do. And how you are asking the computer to do a certain task is by giving the computer a set of instructions, which is the software or the program. Okay, so now we are trying to develop systems, okay, which can take data in different forms and analyze that data on their own and accordingly act. Okay, it may not be there in the basic program to perform that action, but depending upon the type of data it gets, it will perform those actions. So some intelligent feature is being added to those systems. So that is artificial intelligence. So some other terms that are associated with that is machine intelligence or computer intelligence. Now what are the goals of artificial intelligence? First goal is to create expert systems. So these expert systems are ones which will exhibit intelligent behavior, okay, they learn, they can demonstrate, explain and advise its users. So already there are some systems which are being used by us, so I'll go to that little later when we see the applications. Then the second goal is to implement human intelligence in machines. So this is to create systems which behave like human beings or which are much more superior than human beings. So many of these science fiction movies, this kind of characters are already existing in those movies. So that is what the researchers in the field of artificial intelligence are trying to achieve. Now artificial intelligence are of two types basically, and these categories are based on the capabilities of the system and the functionalities of the system. So in the type 1 we have narrow AI, general AI and strong AI. First I'll explain about the type 2. So type 2 we have reactive machines, limited theory, then theory of mind and self-awareness. Now under reactive machines, these are systems which are designed to give the output depending upon the current scenario. Okay, so whatever is the current scenario, based on that only the output is generated. Then limited theory is, these systems are the ones where there is a short-term memory associated with the system. So whatever has happened, say in the past 1 minute, that memory will be there with the systems and the current scenario that is present. So based on these two factors, the system generates the output. So that is limited memory systems. Examples of this are self-driving cars. Okay, so self-driving cars, they have to since they are autonomous cars without a driver, they have to move through the traffic or move on the road by itself. So they have to consider various factors in the vicinity, how many cars are there, what is the speed of the cars which are traveling in the vicinity. All these things have to be recorded, and then only if the car wants to switch the lane, it has to take these factors into consideration and accordingly produce the output. Okay. Then you have theory of mind. Now these systems are ones which are designed to behave like human beings. Okay, so whatever like our emotions are there, how we react to certain situations as a human being, so such kind of situations are designed in the systems, and accordingly the system will behave. So these are not yet available. The research is going on in this particular area. And then you have self-awareness. Now self-awareness systems are ones which are highly intelligent. They are called as super intelligent systems. Means their intelligence can surpass that of a human being. So as a human being, I may have developed that system, but once the system is developed, it will try to learn on its own, and it achieves an intelligence level that is beyond the capacity of a human being. So those are called as self-awareness. This is just a theory or a hypothesis that is there. So no work is being done on it. Okay, so it is still you can call it as a fiction. Now in the type 1 type of AI, we have narrow AI which are dedicated for one particular task. So this narrow AI systems are systems which can perform only one task. So you design the system for giving an output for one particular task. Okay, like for example, you can say, suppose your AC is a smart AC. Okay, you have in your home a smart AC. Now what are the features of a smart AC? It has Wi-Fi connectivity. Okay, then Wi-Fi connectivity means what? It can talk to other devices with the same Wi-Fi capabilities. Okay, they can communicate with each other. So that area is called as Internet of Things, where various devices are connected to each other through the internet, and this data that is generated by these devices are then used further for further analysis and designing certain systems. So when you say dedicated for one task, like suppose in your room the AC has a temperature sensing mechanism. So this temperature sensing mechanism, what it will do? This is just a basic level example that I am giving, okay, which is a system which is designed for performing a dedicated task. So this will sense the temperature of the room. If it is too cold, it will increase the temperature, or if it is too warm, it will try to bring it down. So it regulates the temperature. Okay, so that is performing one particular dedicated task. Then you have general AI. Now under general AI, the system is made to act like a human being, and super AI which is intelligent than human. So these are the type 1 AI. Now what has contributed to the field of artificial intelligence? So it is not a single discipline area. Artificial intelligence is covered under various disciplines, or it takes into consideration various disciplines. So you can call it as interdisciplinary field. So computer science has contributed to it, psychology, linguistics, biology, mathematics, engineering. So all these are the disciplines which have contributed to the development of artificial intelligence. Now again, this is another category or classification of AI. So we have software. Okay, in software systems, okay, which are based on AI. We have virtual assistants, image analysis software, search engines, speech and face recognition systems. I'll go to this in the next slide. Then embodied AI, okay, which is robots, autonomous cars, drones, and Internet of Things. Now, where artificial intelligence is placed in the industrial development. So, industrial development started from Industry 1.0, that is from the year 1760 to 1830, where mechanization was done and systems were built on steam and water power. Then Industry 2.0 from 1870 to 1914, where mass production and electricity was the main goal. Then Industry 3.0, 1970 to 2000, where electronics and IT systems were developed and much of the automation was made possible. And now currently we have Industry 4.0, that is from 2015. Maybe it will go up to 2050 or so. And in this, it is totally based upon artificial intelligence. Okay, so this current industrial 4.0 is totally based upon AI. So these are the everyday uses of AI that we are currently making use of all these applications. So all of you have a smartphone? Yes. So suppose you want to sit at home and buy something. What do? Using your smartphone, okay, you want to buy something. What do you do on your smartphone? You have online shopping apps, okay. So these online shopping apps, you go to those apps and then you start browsing through the products that are there. Now once you close that app, okay, you have not decided which product you want to buy. Next time, like when you try to search for something, it will give you the recommendations based on your search that you had done earlier. Now how the system comes to know? That is because there is some measure of intelligence introduced in that particular system. So based on your personal browsing that you had done, the system keeps a record of that, and then next time when you are trying to browse, it will give you a recommendations of the products that you were trying to search for. Okay. Then you have applications like smart air conditioner. So you have heard about smart homes or smart home appliances. All of you or most of you may be having a smart TV. So what the smart TV can do? Can connect to phone. Okay, yeah. And almost all the electronic appliances that are available in the market now are smart appliances. So using a mobile app, you can control all these appliances away from home. Okay. So suppose you want hot water to have bath when you reach home. So not to waste time, you can switch on the geyser from the place where you are starting towards home, and by the time you reach home, your water will be hot. So you can control it through a mobile app. Okay, so these are smart appliances. Then autonomous cars, all of you must have heard about this. What are autonomous cars? They are also called as self-driving cars. Okay. Then you have Google Maps. What does Google Map do? information on the routes. Okay, suppose you want to go from one particular place to another place. So you don't know the route, how to go from your source to the destination. So Google Map will help you for that particular movement. Okay, suppose you have missed the whatever Google was telling you to take, say a diversion, left diversion or right diversion, you missed that. What Google Map does? It will show you the next alternate way or the route which will lead you to your destination. Okay. Then AI is used in cyber security, in web search. So in Google, when you are searching for some information, automatically it will load that. Means when you type the keywords, it will try to tell you whether this is the information that you want. Automatically, like, it will make you a recommendation. Then optimization for products and sales paths. Now again, online shoppings are shopping apps, okay, or shopping websites. They are making use of this AI in retaining their customers as well as getting new customers. So they are using customer personal likings. Okay, so how they come to know is whenever you are browsing through products, it will keep a record of that, and then they will tell you or send you only those advertisements related to that particular product. So if you, I don't know whether you have noticed this, whenever you search for something, okay, using your Google search, next time when you are trying to search or trying to browse on the internet, it will give you advertisements related to that particular product. Okay, so all this is possible because of this use of AI in these systems. Then robots are used in factories, okay, like in assembly line units, these robots are used, which makes the manufacturing of products faster. Then in farming it is used, so we'll go to that later. Okay, so these are the examples of AI. So you have self-driving cars, e-payment, Google Maps, text autocorrect. So this feature also you must have seen. Whenever you are typing something, automatically it will give you suggestions that you add this particular word next, or if you made a spelling mistake, some of the spellings are automatically corrected. Then automated translation. So suppose you don't understand a language, okay, you can go for the translation feature that is present. Then chatbots. Now chatbots are also used by many companies in the customer service support area. So if you go to the helpline of any company, you will be answered by a chatbot. Okay, and it will try to give you suggestions, or it will try to ask you certain set of questions. So if your problem lies within that set of questions, you can then solve the problem without the help of any human intervention. So the chatbot is able to solve your problem. Then on social media, all these apps, social media apps, also AI is widely used. Then for face detection, so many of your smartphones will be having this feature, face recognition. So it will capture your face, keep it in the memory, and you can unlock your phone using this face recognition system. Then for searching information on the net, okay, all the search engines, they make use of AI. Then robots, then automated investment. So whenever you try to invest in something, it will give you suggestions on, like, suppose you want to invest a certain amount. So based on your amount of investment that you want and the returns that you want, the system will try to tell you what are the options that are available. Okay, then you have natural language processing. Now this is again a widely means where a lot of research work is being done on this, okay, and it tries to convert languages that we speak into, say, English, okay, with the emotions attached to it. So that is what they are trying to do under this. Then flying drones. So all of you have seen drones. So what are drones? What are drones? Where you have seen drones? Where did you see? In movies? Yes? You have not seen in real life? Where? For weddings? Yeah, so you have seen drones being used for doing the video recording or video shooting, okay, in weddings. So these are what? These are systems that are controlled by a robot, and they have cameras which are having high resolution, so they can capture, and you can take these drones to any area where it is not possible to capture the picture properly and get the image. So all this is possible with the drones. Then you have heard about Apple Siri, then Cortana, Alexa. So all these are applications which are based on AI. Okay. Have you all heard about the term smart city? No? Panjim is supposed to be converted to a smart city. What it is? Smart city means what? Okay, what do you mean by a smart device? What is a smartphone? You have a phone, all of you? No? You don't have? All of you will be having. Because of COVID, you got a chance to have a smartphone. So what is a smartphone? Okay, suppose if you were given a phone which does not have all these features that are there in your phones, okay, like the earlier phones with just the keypad, would you have been able to attend your classes, online classes? So what it is that is making you to attend online classes on your phone? Internet connectivity. Okay, so through this internet connectivity, it is possible for you to connect to a remote device. Okay, so when your teacher gives you the link which you have to join, so that means you are connecting to that system on which your teacher is creating that class. Okay, so now smart city is what? Again, it makes use of this internet connectivity to provide the services to its citizens. Like it can calculate the water usage, it can try to find out where there is wastage of water that is happening. Okay, then it can keep a track of power usage. Suppose street lights, okay, it can be controlled through this internet connectivity. Okay, instead of a person going and switching on and off the street lights, it can be automatically controlled. Even now we have street lights which can be controlled. We have solar lights, okay, which have this facility of switching on and off automatically. Okay, then you have, most important thing is parking facility in the city. So a smart city when you enter a smart city, it will tell you where the parking slot is available. Now right now if you go to Panjim, you have to keep on going in circles till you find a space to park your vehicle. So when you have a smart city, that may not be the case. The app which is linking you to the city will tell you where the parking slot is available. So directly you can go over there and park your car. Okay. Smart traffic is, I've told you, like even today that cars we have, they have all these features. Like when you come to close to another object on the road, it will warn you, okay, that you are going close to another car or another vehicle. Similarly, when you go beyond the speed, okay, which you are not supposed to go, the car will tell you that you are over speeding. Okay, so these are the features that are available in the vehicles that we have currently. Okay, then you have smart homes where all smart appliances are present which are connected to each other and they can be controlled using a single app. Then in healthcare also AI is playing a very crucial role. Now when we go for a checkup, okay, suppose we go for a full body checkup, we are made to undergo various kinds of tests. Now all this, the record is kept, okay, and earlier what used to happen was there was not much analysis done on that data. But now that data is collected, analyzed, and it can help in the early diagnosis of certain diseases. So like suppose, say there are chances of me getting cancer, the doctor can, through all this using AI systems, the doctor can tell me whether there are chances of me getting the cancer. So early detection is possible. So before it reaches the advanced level, it can be detected and the necessary actions can be taken. Then again in healthcare, it is used in right from the time you enter a hospital till you leave the hospital, everything is managed by these systems. Okay, all your data will be taken, fed into the system. So when you go to the doctor, it will be paperless. You don't have to carry your files. Everything will be appearing on the doctor's screen. So the doctor knows your history, and then based on what you are telling the doctor will diagnose and accordingly give you the medicines. Okay. Okay, so we'll go to the next one. The picture is not very clear. So this is the use of robots in assembling. So this helps in faster production or faster manufacturing. Now what does AI consist of? Now AI consists of machine learning and deep learning techniques. So the machine learning is a subset of AI, and deep learning is said to be a subset of machine learning. So all together we call it as AI. Now this machine learning uses statistical learning algorithms. So it makes use of statistics, okay, to design the models or to build the models, and it tries to extract patterns from the data that is given to the algorithms. And based on these patterns that are generated, the system is able to predict. Okay, like for example, if I have a large number of images of, say, cats and dogs, and then I give an image to the system, and as a person, like I don't know whether it is a cat or a dog, and I want to know it belongs to which category. So with this large number of images that are already fed to the system can distinguish what is a cat and what is a dog. So when you give this new image, the system will predict whether it is a cat or dog. Now the accuracy with which it predicts, okay, is what makes the system accurate. Like if it is giving you the correct output, Okay, say 95% of the time you can say that it is 95% accurate. So machine learning, using machine learning algorithms, it is found that you can get high accuracy outputs. Then again, this machine learning was further developed, and techniques which were based on human brain were developed, and this is called as the deep learning. Okay, so it makes use of the neurons that are there in our brains. So similar kind of a system or architecture is used for developing these algorithms. Deep learning techniques are found to be performing better than the machine learning techniques. So that is why now, like most of the AI systems, they make use of deep learning techniques. So advantages of AI are high accuracy, high speed, high reliability. Okay, it can give you digital assistant, then useful as a public utility. Disadvantages are costly to implement. It cannot duplicate human creativity. Now the third point, it will replace some jobs which will lead to unemployment, may not be fully true, because though AI is going to replace human beings in certain areas, you will have to develop your expertise in some other area concerning the field of AI. So you have job opportunities, but in not the existing fields, but newly created fields or newly created areas. And when you make use of AI system, people can become overly reliant on it. That means you become dependent on such systems. Now next is what has led to this development of AI. Okay, though the history of AI it dates back to somewhere in 1950s, but only now recently we see that AI techniques or AI systems are being developing at a very high speed. So what has led to this is, first is the hardware, development in the hardware. So if we see the increase in the computing power, it is seen that there is an exponential increase in the computing power, that is in the CPU. So what CPU that could run an algorithm, say in 2 days, okay, say some 10 years back, that same algorithm can be run by a system now within 1 second. So that is the difference in the power of systems that we are having now. Then companies like NVIDIA and AMD have developed what are called as the graphical processing units. So these are separate processing units which are there in the computer, okay, which are exclusively used for graphical processing, okay, image processing and such kind of data. So these are being used for that. So you might have seen, those who are into gaming, you might have seen the games that we get now, okay, and if you have a graphics card or a good graphical processing unit with you in your system, you can easily make out the difference when you are playing the games, okay. So this development in the hardware has led to the increase in the use of AI systems. Then data, now the availability of data. Now since we have millions or billions of devices connected to the internet at a time, lot of data is generated every second. So in a day it is said that around 2.2 exabytes of data are created. Now what is exabyte? You know the terms that are associated with data. What is 1 bit? Bit is what? Now computers are digital devices, okay, they can process data only using the numbers 0 and 1. So 0 and 1 are called as the bits. So when you have a group of 8 bits together, it is called as a byte, okay. 1 byte is equal to 8 bits. So when you say 1 KB, it is 1000 bytes. When you say 1 MB, it is 1K, okay, or 10 raised to 3 into sorry, it is 10 raised to 6 bytes. Okay, so like this it goes on. So giga, you have heard the term gigabytes also. Okay, so that is 10 raised to 9. Then you have tera 10 raised to 12, peta 10 raised to 15, and exa is 10 raised to 18 bytes. So this is the amount of data that is generated every day, because people are connected to each other on social media, companies are connected, so lot of data is generated, and this data is available for to be used in the AI algorithms. Again, development in the algorithm. So complex algorithms are being developed which require high processing powers. So this has led to the increase in the use of AI systems. It also enables progressive learning in the systems, okay, which means that a computer can teach itself how to perform the different tasks. Okay, next, the next part of our this, why we require AI in agriculture. Okay, now this is a brief intro into why we need AI in agriculture, especially in India, or what are the challenges that are faced by the agricultural sector in India, and how AI can help the farmers. So our economy is still dependent upon agriculture, because we have around 58% of the families which are dependent on agriculture directly or indirectly. Now, to bring technology into agriculture, it becomes very difficult, especially in a country like India, that is because of most of the farmers have small and fragmented land holdings. That means a farmer will have a very small share of land available to himself. And when you are trying to involve technology in such areas, it does not become feasible. The cost of using technology goes high, so which is not affordable to a poor farmer. Okay, so that is one challenge. Then again, farmers who are on the poor side, okay, they do not have access to good quality seeds, manures or fertilizers. Then problem of irrigation and heavy dependence on monsoon is there. Generally what happens is a farmer will just water all the crops that are there in the field, okay, but at some places water may not be required. So that is giving water to a plant which does not require water, so that can again destroy the plants, or it can affect the growth of the plant. Then lack of mechanization, that is farmers generally do not use mechanized parts like tractors and all, they generally do it manually, okay. Then soil erosion, then absence of proper agricultural marketing facilities. This is there, you might have seen on news many times, farmers just throwing their produce because there is no market for it. Some time back on TV they had shown I think tomatoes being just thrown out by the farmers because there was no market available for selling the tomatoes. Then lack of data sets, so there is no proper organized data sets available at the farm or the farmer and sector levels, which increases the cost of providing the services to the farmer. Again, no good food processing units, or not many good food processing units are available, no proper logistic and warehousing infrastructure, which all leads to increase in wastage. So though there may be a good crop production, but because of these factors, the farmer is not able to get the advantage of that particular produce. Okay, so these are the challenges that are faced by the agricultural sector. Now, in the developed countries, they are using something called as the precision farming or smart farming techniques. Now, this precision farming is based on right place, right time, and right method to be done, or what to do at that particular point. So it is based on this characteristics. Okay, so we'll see what are the existing technologies that are being used in the farming. So you have interactive voice response. So a farmer can connect to a service which is provided on the mobiles and give the problem faced by tell the problem that is faced by him, and the farmer will get a response. Then web applications are there. Then internet and broadband services are being used. Satellite imaging is done of the fields to map the farms, like soil mapping is done, okay, to find out which soil, which part of the area land is having good soil, that means with all the nutrients, where it is lacking some nutrients. So all this is done under soil mapping, okay. And then emerging technologies are AI, blockchain, big data, Internet of Things, drones, then cloud computing and robots. So how smart farming is using the various technologies is, it makes use of sensing technologies, data analytics solutions, okay. Now various organizations collect the data from different areas, okay, and they have it in their systems. So this data can be combined together, collected by various organizations, and analysis of that data can be done, and certain techniques can be used to make the farmer where they can increase their crop produce, okay. Then hardware and software systems, telematics or positioning technologies, communication systems. So all these are contributing towards the smart farming. So AI applications in agriculture can be categorized into crop and soil monitoring, predictive agricultural analytics, and supply chain efficiencies. Now for crop and soil monitoring, what the systems are using is making use of sensors and various IoT based technologies. IoT based means Internet of Things based technologies, which are used to monitor the crop and soil health. Like suppose right from the time the seeds are sowed to the crops grow fully, the soil health is monitored as well as the crop health is monitored. So soil health, at every stage they will try to find out whether there is deficiency in certain nutrients. So if there is deficiency, that nutrient is made available to the crop, okay. So like this it helps the farmers to monitor the crop and soil health. Then predictive agricultural analytics, this makes use of various AI and machine learning tools to determine the best time to sow the seeds, and if there are alerts regarding the pest attacks, to give those alerts to the farmers, okay. So then weather forecasting. So all these kind of tools are being developed so that the farmers get well equipped and take care of their crops properly. Then supply chain efficiencies, this make use of real-time data analytics based on the data that is coming from multiple sources to build an efficient and smart supply chain. Now, what do you mean by supply chain is delivering the product from the place where it is produced to the market. So how it is being delivered, that is the supply chain, and who are the in between people or organizations that are associated with it. So this is also being done in using AI. Okay, another example is intelligent spraying. Okay, so here they use drones to capture images of the farm. Okay, and these images are then analyzed, and they try to find out whether there are weeds growing. So differentiation is done between whether it is the crop or the weeds, and wherever the weeds are growing, only at that particular point the herbicides are sprayed. So it is not now like traditional farming is done, how the farmer just uses the herbicides throughout the farms. So when we eat that produce, we also intake lot of chemicals. Okay, so using this kind of a technique called as intelligent spraying, this harmful effects, side effects of spraying the pesticides throughout this farm is reduced. Then predictive insights, we have seen agricultural robots. So robots are used during harvesting, okay, to harvest the crop, or in some developed countries they are using robots right from the time they sow the seeds to the harvest. For that, all these activities, the robots are being used. And for diagnosing the diseases, so if there is disease, the crop is affected by disease, it can be easily diagnosed using the AI techniques. So this is just a picture showing how AI is implemented in a farm. So you have various sensors on the this left side, okay, and data is collected from these sensors and given to a system which is a cloud-based service, okay, which is there on the cloud, and this data that is collected from the field is given to that application, and along with that weather forecasting techniques or weather forecasting data is used, and accordingly the system will generate a report which will tell whether there is any disease that is there in the crops, or whether there is any nutrient deficiency, and accordingly it will tell the farmer what to do. Okay, it will also give the solution how to cure that particular problem. Okay, some of the apps that are currently being used, okay, I have come to the end, so I'm just going through the apps which are currently being used in the agricultural field. So AI sowing app, which is being developed by Microsoft, okay, in collaboration with an organization called as International Crops Research Institute for the Semi-Arid Tropics, which is based in Andhra Pradesh. So they have developed this app, and it is able to use weather models and data and can predict rainfall more accurately and advise the local farmers on when they should plant their seeds. So this is an app developed by Microsoft and which is already being used, and it has been found that using this app, okay, there is a 30% increase in the yield for the farmers who have used this particular app. Okay, so it will give advice on when to sow, then what type of crops to be grown in that particular soil, so that advice is also given. So like this, the farmer can increase the crop produce and gain financial returns. Then price forecasting model. This particular system is developed by the Karnataka Agricultural Price Commission and along with Microsoft, where it tries to predict what will be the price that the farmers can get for that particular season for a particular product. So for doing this, they make use of machine learning, satellite imaging, and other advanced technologies are used. Then Infosys has come up with Infosys Precision Crop Management, which makes use of IoT, okay, technologies. This is still in the testing stage. Okay, they are still testing it, not being used in the commercial field. Then you have another app developed by a startup called as Cropin, which they are claiming to be an intuitive, intelligent and self-evolving system which delivers future-ready farming solutions to the agricultural sector. So what it does is, it analyzes and interprets the data to derive real-time actionable insights. Okay, and accordingly, advise the farmers what they have to do. They can also advise the farmers on on the financial part of farming. Then another Bangalore-based app called as Intello Labs, okay, which makes use of advanced image recognition technologies, and it is able to identify objects, faces, flora, fauna, okay. And this is again can be used in the agricultural field for product grading. So it can distinguish between fresh products or 2-3 days old product, or if the fruit is not, there's some problem with the fruit. Sometimes on the outside the fruit appears very nice, okay, but when you cut it, it will be spoiled, okay. So that can be also done using this particular app to find out whether the fruit is good or bad. Then again, alerts to farmers can be given by using this app on crop infestation, okay. Then another app called as Gobesco. This is being used as an intelligent agri supply chain, okay. So it is used for establishing the supply chain between the farmers and the market. Then you have Gramophone, okay, which is based in Madhya Pradesh. So it gives information to farmers like how to achieve better yields. Then another app called as Jiva Bhumi, which gives the smart agriculture marketplace. Okay, then these are some apps which are used, or techniques which are used abroad. Then Prospera, this is Prospera, which was founded in Israel. So it has developed a cloud-based solution. Anybody has an idea what is cloud computing? You have heard the term cloud? No? Not the rain clouds. Cloud related to the field of computer science. No? Okay, cloud computing is a technique or a technology that is used where the sharing of resources is being done. This is a very layman's explanation of that technology, okay. So what it means is, now like so much of data is being generated, and this data cannot just be thrown out, because you can get very good insights from this data. So some storage is required for the data. So companies have come up with what are called as data centers, where you can save your information, okay. Like if you are using the app of a government, okay, you are given some service called as DigiLocker. Those who have gone through that may be knowing about it, DigiLocker. So DigiLocker is what? You can save all your important documents in this DigiLocker, and where it is saved, do you have any idea about it? It is saved at some remote place, so you do not know exactly where it is saved. So that means it is saved at some data center where there is a facility of saving the data. So your device may not have the facility of storing that data, and the service is provided to you to store your data somewhere else. Okay, so there are companies who are charging for those services, some provide it for free. You have Google, which gives those services, Amazon, okay. Then again, it is not just about data, it is sharing of resources also. So you have now, since AI requires lot of high processing systems, it is not possible for all of us, or we cannot afford high processing systems. So we can make use of the facilities or services provided in terms of these resources by these companies. Okay, so you may have to pay them some rent, okay, something like that. So they have all the options available and which can be used. So this Prospera is a cloud-based solution. So it combines all the existing data which is collected using soil and water sensors, aerial images, and then it will try to analyze the farm or the land that is under study, and accordingly it will give the solutions to the farmer. Then there is another called as Blue River technology, which makes use of AI, computer vision and robotics, okay, that is into the building of agricultural equipment. Then FarmBot, again a robot that is used, okay, to help in precision farming technology. So it can help the farmer, okay, this FarmBot can help the farmer to do the farming right from seed plantation to weed detection and soil testing to watering of plants. So everything is handled by this FarmBot. Then Plantix app, okay, that is used for identifying potential defects and nutrient deficiencies in soils. Yeah. Okay, last part. So what are the roles in AI careers? So since you are school kids, just an idea about if you are interested in this particular area, what are the opportunities that are available. So you can be AI analyst and developer, robotics specialist, AI engineer and scientist. You can join the military for developing AI systems for that, then AI researcher. So all these are the career opportunities available in the field of AI. So to conclude, artificial intelligence is the future, and the only thing is we need to make it accessible to all. Okay, so we have to ensure that this technology reaches all the people, right from the poorest to the richest. So I'm open for questions. If you have any questions, you can ask.
If students have any questions to ask, they can ask. You can raise your hands. Anything, if you all have any doubts with artificial intelligence, ma'am will be the right person to answer them. Anyone? Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. I have a question. If the AI can eventually help to increase the income for the farmers, if it can help somehow, and how?
Yeah, actually, basic problem with Indian farming is we have farmers who are very poor. They don't know the technological know-how, so they are not very tech savvy. So somehow, like if we make this technology reach those particular farmers, we can actually help the farmers to increase their crop production, and in turn increase their income. And also it will help in what is called as sustainable farming. So right now we know that the population is increasing and there is a need to go into sustainable farming because the population is increasing, so food demand is also there. So we have to feed all this population with limited resources that are available. So using these techniques will definitely help the farmers to increase their products as well as income.
Maybe one short question is like we say we use different apps which is available for farmers. Any idea like whether in Goa it's like whether it's actually used or it is just at the research level as of now?
No, I think ICAR has already developed the system where they have made this soil health cards, then farmers, Kisan something is the cards given to farmers, and they also have some data available with them regarding the soil structure of a particular area. So if the farmer has any question, I think through SMS they can communicate to the organization and get their queries solved.
Any more questions? Okay, so if there are no questions, thank you, Dr. Sulakshana, for enlightening the students with such a wonderful talk on AI and its importance of AI for in our day-to-day life, as well as in the different sectors like agricultural, healthcare, and other things. Thank you.
Yeah, I also would like to thank all of the audience over here as well as the organizers for inviting me for this talk. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. On behalf of the organizing team of this event, I would like to request sir to kindly present ma'am with a memento as a token of appreciation. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, and now we will just proceed for a short tea break. So we'll have a short 5 to 10 minute tea break. So outside here, you'll just proceed through here, and there will be a tea and some snacks being served over there. So you all can go. There is a washrooms also outside over there, so you all can go and come back here within 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, thank you.
So it's my pleasure to introduce the second speaker for today's session, Professor Judith Braganza. So Professor Judith has completed her PhD from Goa University in 2003 as a CSIR fellow. Her doctoral work included with the biodiversity of halophiles, archaea, and explored their mechanism of resistance to arsenic and cadmium. Professor Braganza joined the Department of Biological Science, BITS Pilani, Goa campus as a faculty in 2004. Her research interest includes biodiversity of halophiles, biotechnological applications for halophilic and bacteria, and metal tolerance in microorganisms. She has also been a principal investigator for various projects funded by various reputed institutes like DST and other this. Professor Braganza has over 35 publications in reputed journals and has a number of conference proceedings to her credit. She has also presented her research work at numerous national and international conferences. She has been actively involved as a reviewer for various international journals. So she has successfully mentored 3 PhD students besides the numerous dissertations and projects of the students, and currently she is mentoring 2 PhD students. Under the BITS Pilani University Immersion Scheme, she visited the Goethe University, the Frankfurt, Germany during the summer 2013, and worked with the Professor Volker Muller, Department of Molecular Microbiology and Bioenergetics. Professor Braganza is member of American Society of Microbiology, International Society for Salt Lake Research, and Association of Microbiologists of India. So besides teaching, she is also associated with various committees on of the BITS Pilani. So I request Professor Judith to please take over this session. Thank you.
with this. Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and a big thank you to the organizers of the Science Week, first and foremost for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to interact with all the young minds in the Goa University. Okay. So my topic is rather a general topic, though it can be very specific, but I'll keep it more open. And it is understanding COVID-19 vaccine technologies. Okay. All of you here, since most of you are school students, okay, and have not taken the vaccines, but you know your parents have taken, your relatives have taken, okay, and you have heard in the news, in the newspapers every day that there are several types of vaccines, okay? And how are these vaccines manufactured? What type of technology is used, okay? Is it microbiology based, or is it some other type, okay? So it is very, very interdisciplinary, okay? The entire research today is quite interdisciplinary. So let us take an overview of what this whole COVID-19 vaccine technology is about, okay? The causative agent of this pandemic, as we all know, is the SARS-CoV-2 virus, right? So it causes the COVID-19, okay, respiratory disease. So what is it? It is a virus, okay, and it is having a single-stranded RNA genome, okay, and it belongs to the family called as the Coronaviridae. What does this SARS virus do? It causes a respiratory tract infection in humans. It has a genome. Now, a virus has a genome, okay, which is made up of RNA, and it is about 30 kilobase pairs, which is largest among the known RNA viruses. It is genetically similar to the previous coronaviruses, okay, and therefore it was renamed instead of novel to SARS-CoV-2, okay. Now, how does it enter our body? It enters by binding to the cell surface receptors present on the human cells. And these cell surface receptors are ACE2, which is called as angiotensin converting enzyme 2, and some transmembrane protease serine receptors. So what of the virus binds to this receptor? The spike protein, okay? The spike protein, I will show you the figure in the next slide. So just remember that the spike protein binds to the receptors present on the human cells. So once they bind, it enters to the host cell via a process known as endocytosis. So here on your screen, you can see the structure of the coronavirus. What you can see here are the spikes, okay, which are glycoprotein spike protein, and it gives it the corona structure, which is called as a crown-like structure. Okay, so this is how it looks like. It's flashing every day for the past 2 years on your TV screens, on your newspapers, everywhere, right? So this is how it looks internally. It has the RNA, which is bound by the nucleocapsid. You can see this structure inside. And outside to it, it is an envelope, okay? This is an enveloped virus. So this envelope is made up of a lipid bilayer, okay? It is made up of a lipid bilayer. And over this envelope, you have the spike glycoproteins, okay? So envelope is the red part here, and these are the spikes which are inserted inside the envelope. Fine? So you must have heard that everyone says you have to wash your hands repeatedly with soap. You have to also use sanitizer. If there's no water available, you have to use sanitizer. Now, why is this so? Because soap can destroy effectively this envelope, okay? Because this envelope is made up of a lipid bilayer. So what happens is soap, when you use soap, it disrupts this lipid bilayer, and therefore the virus is destroyed. How it disrupts? It forms micellar structure, okay? Since it is a lipid, it is soluble in soap and it forms micellar structures, and therefore the coronavirus is destroyed, okay? So therefore soap works. Now this is the crown-like structure we are talking about, and it is having crown for spike, Now, this spike is extremely important even in the entire vaccine technology, okay? So what is the spike made up of? It is a peptomer, okay? Means it's peptides, repeating units of peptides, which are glycoproteinaceous in nature. And these spikes are the ones which allow to attach to the human cell, okay, in the cell receptors, which I told you before, called the ACE2 and the other one, okay. And where are these cell receptors? They are present in the upper and the lower airway, fine. So it's like a lock and key model. The spike fits into the receptor present on the human cell. The spike of the virus fits into the receptor on the human cell, okay? And after that, it will enter through a process called as endocytosis. So just to give you a brief overview of how viruses are classified, okay? Now, since most of you are school students, do you know viruses, are they living or dead? Are they living or non-living? They are living. And any other answer? They can be termed as neither living nor dead, okay? They are like dust particles. They are there. Dust is there all over, okay? But they can become living and cause an infection, and that's why we are home locked for past 2 years, okay? How? When they enter a host cell, okay? So here is the structure. It is a simple structure. It is having the genome, which is either RNA or DNA. For coronaviruses, it is RNA, okay? And by itself, it cannot replicate. It requires a host cell, an animal cell or a human cell, okay, so that it can enter and then replicate using the host cell machinery, fine? So a virus is like a computer program, a software, okay? By itself, the software on your CD or your pen drive is useless, okay? You need a hardware, you need a laptop or you need your mobile or your tab, and then only that software becomes active, right? You can work and do many things on that software. So virus is something like that. It requires a host cell. So although it is living, not dead, and in order to classify life, okay, you know life, we are living. We need sometimes to know whether it is life or death, okay? Why? Sometimes in order, okay? So now, what was the interesting part of the coronavirus? The crown, that is the corona. The corona is made up of the spikes, okay? So this is the structure of the spike protein. If you see the spike protein, it is having two parts. The S1 part, which is the yellow part here, which is globular in structure, and the S2 part, which is the stalk, okay? And here is the viral membrane, so it is inserted in the viral membrane, and it has an intracellular tail, fine? So the S1 subunit contains something called as a RBD, okay, receptor binding domain or receptor binding motif. So it is this RBD, which the blue color, okay, which actually binds to the host cell receptor, fine? So you have the S1 subunit and the S2, which is the stalk fusion domain. It fuses with the host cell membrane, okay? Now if you come down to this last structure, you can see how it is. The S1 subunit, within which is the RBD, that is the receptor binding domain, and the other part is the S2 subunit, okay? So with this in mind, let us proceed further. Now, coronaviruses by itself are not new, okay? It was long back in the year 1930, okay, when most of you, the school students, were not born, right? So, it was discovered even then, but it was not causing human infections. It was causing infections in veterinary, okay, like poultry and other types of animals. Calves are what? The young ones of cattle, okay? So it was causing some diseases. So coronaviruses are well known. And it was in 1968, okay, that this solar corona was first described. So just imagine 1968, even before I was born, okay? The coronavirus was first described. And then later on, it became very, very popular in the year 2002 when there was an Asia epidemic of SARS-CoV. Later on in 2012, there was a Saudi Arabia outbreak of MERS-CoV. And then it was the 2019, 2019 China epidemic, or the Wuhan, that catapulted this coronavirus into the limelight. Okay? So it was this lady, a scientist, Dr. June Almeida, who today is in the limelight, and she's called as the virus detective, okay? Because she had discovered the coronavirus, how through the microscope, okay, electron microscope. And she was working for St. Thomas Hospital and Medical College in London. And it is here that she started using the electron microscope, okay? And she discovered something that it's a dot, a gray dot, with some type of radiations outside, okay? Spikes outside radiating through the center, okay? And she tried to publish it. Now, all scientists have to publish their results in peer-reviewed journals, okay? But her study was never accepted. Why? Because they said that it is probably some pictures which have gone wrong of the hepatitis virus or of the influenza virus. And therefore, she could only publish her work in 1968. Okay, so this paper is a Nature publication in 1968, which first tells about the structure of the coronavirus, okay, having that solar coronae, that is the spikes. So it is quite long ago, in 1968 was the first publication of the image of the coronavirus, okay. So now we come to the topic of the day, why do we use vaccines? Now, it's not only the COVID vaccine. When we were young and we were babies in the first year of life, everyone has taken so many vaccines, right? The DPT, the BCG, so many vaccines. So vaccines are there from a long time, and none of us are new to vaccines. So what is the purpose of a vaccine? To prevent infectious diseases. So what are the diseases that we have had vaccines from? We have had from measles, polio, hepatitis B, influenza, and many others. So why do we vaccinate people? Okay? We vaccinate people in order to stop the spread of a pathogen within a community. Okay? And this stopping of a spread of a pathogen within a community is possible through vaccination, and that is because something called as herd immunity, okay? It is because of herd immunity or indirect immunity or population immunity. And that is what the scientists have been trying to do even with coronaviruses, okay? Trying to develop a herd immunity. So when many people have immunity, it indirectly protects those people who cannot take vaccines for some reason, like they are immunocompromised, okay, or young babies cannot take the coronavirus vaccine, or those who have, those, as I said, are immunocompromised, okay, because their immune system is weakened due to some other disease. So the history of vaccines can be traced in 1749, okay. It was on this day, that is May 14th of 1796, okay, so see how long back. It was the scientist Edward Jenner, okay, who inoculated a 8-year-old boy, and this is that boy who's sitting in the chair. His name was James Phipps, okay. So what did Edward Jenner suddenly inoculate the boy with? Edward Jenner had a keen power of observation, okay, and in order to become scientists, each one of us have to cultivate that power of observation, okay, observe and analyze. What he observed that the milkmaids seldom get smallpox. That time smallpox was a big disease then, okay. So he saw milkmaids who work with cows, they do not get smallpox. Instead, they get something called as cowpox, okay, which is similar to smallpox, but it is in cattle. And they get some pustules on their hands, all these milkmaids. And so what he did was, today, if we repeat that experiment, it will be termed as highly unethical and gross, okay? But at that time, he did it, okay? 1796 is a long ago. So what he did was, he removed the pus from a pustule and inoculated into this boy in a cut. He made a cut on his arm and put that pus into his arm, okay? And after 1 month, he challenged this boy with the smallpox virus. The boy did not develop smallpox, okay? Why? Because he is already immunized. He got the immunity through the cowpox virus, okay? And this set the stage for vaccines. Got it? Now, vaca means cow in Latin, Portuguese, and some European languages, okay? Vaca is cow. So since it is cowpox, it was derived from cow, he called it vaccine, okay? Vaccine. Later on, it was Louis Pasteur who developed the anti-rabies vaccine. But in order to honor Edward Jenner, they retained the term vaca, okay, though it has nothing to do with cattle today. Vaccines have nothing to do with cattle, but the term is retained as vaccines, okay? So the milkmaid from whom the pustule was used was Sarah Nemes, okay, and later on, now we know that smallpox has been eradicated, and this is the stamp that was released, okay, by the United Nations in 1978 to mark the eradication of smallpox, okay. So this is probably one of the best examples where vaccines have eradicated a pathogenic disease, okay. So now we have the groundwork of what vaccines are, and that it is not a new technology. We have been taking several vaccines, okay? And it was by Edward Jenner, who was the pioneer of this technology, okay, with his emblematic experiment, which I just showed you here. Fine? So now how do vaccines work? So vaccines reduce the risk of infection by training our immune system to recognize and fight pathogens such as viruses and bacteria, okay? So what are vaccines? They deliver an immunogen. What is an immunogen? Something that can elicit or induce an immune response is called as an immunogen, okay? It is a specific type of an antigen that elicits an immune response, and this trains the immune system to recognize the pathogen when it is encountered naturally, okay? So this is the basics of a vaccine. Now we have an immune system. It is called an adaptive immune system. Why? It gets adapted as we grow, okay, based on an innate as well as what we encounter in the environment, okay? Our immune system gets trained. Fine? So it is called the body's adaptive immune system, which can learn to recognize new invading pathogens such as the coronavirus SARS-CoV. So here you see the coronavirus, okay? Now it comes, the virus enters the body, and now you know how it enters the body. By binding, the spike protein will bind to the host cell receptor, which is the ACE2 receptor. The entire virus enters the cell, okay? Then it gets decoded, the genome is out, the viral RNA is out. Now RNA is now translated to a protein, okay? Viral RNA is translated into protein, and it makes more virions, more virus particles. These assemble and then are released. So then they are released for what? To attack more cells. So that is how it mounts, okay? So few viruses enter, they make more copies of themselves by using the host cell machinery, and they release out, okay? And now they are available to attack the other cells. So that is how the mechanism of entry, and this process is called as endocytosis because it is endocytosed inside, okay? Now what is the immune response? Now, we have some cells called as specialized antigen presenting cells, okay? They're APCs. What do? They engulf the virus. They take the virus inside through phagocytosis, APCs, and display portions of it to activate the T helper cells, okay? So there are some cells, immune cells, called T cells, and there are others which are called as B cells, okay? B cells and T cells. So these are two arms of the adaptive immune system. B cells will give you antibodies. T cells will give you immune cells, which are called as cytotoxic T cells or helper T cells. So what these helper T cells do, they enable other immune responses. B cells make antibodies that today we have heard so much of. And these antibodies, what do? Antibodies are these Y-shaped ones, okay? So what do the antibodies do? They go and block the spike protein. If the spike protein is blocked, then the virus cannot bind to the receptor. And therefore, if there is no binding to the receptor, it cannot enter our cell and cause an infection. Okay? So what happens here is the antigen presenting cell takes up these virus. Then the T helper cell activates both B cell and the cytotoxic T cells, which I said are two arms of the immune system. B cell produces antibodies which go and block the spikes, and the cytotoxic T cells on the other hand destroy all infected cells, virus infected cells. Okay? So this is what happens during an infection. Now, once the virus is destroyed, the circulating antibodies also keep diminishing, okay? And the cytotoxic T cells also stop their work. But we have something called as a immunological memory, okay? And these are long-lived memory cells, both B and T cells that recognize the virus and patrol the body for months to years, okay? So this is what the immune response is. So now coming to what vaccines are made up of. Now we know that for a vaccine we require an immunogen or an antigen, okay? So what can be an antigen? A virus can be used to make a vaccine in different ways. One is by using the entire virus or the whole virus, okay? Now you can use it as a dead virus which is inactivated, okay? So therefore it cannot cause a disease, or you can weaken it. You can decrease the virulence of it. How? It is a process called as attenuation, okay? By passaging it to various cell lines or animal models, you can weaken it. Because you are passaging it into the cell line or the animal model, it will acquire mutations, okay, which will be specific for adaptation to the animal model and not to the human cell. So in this way it becomes weakened or attenuated. So either you use the whole virus or you use a piece of the virus, like tetanus and hepatitis B vaccines are made up of. Or without using any of the virus, but you use the blueprint of the virus, like the mRNA vaccines are made up of. They are not using the virus itself, but they are using the blueprint to make that spike protein, okay? So COVID-19 vaccines protect people by making their body recognize a piece of the outside of the COVID-19 virus called as the spike protein, okay? These red knobs are the spike. So all the vaccines are around the spike. So this is the COVID-19 vaccine tracker, okay, by the World Health Organization, WHO. As of February 18, 2022, we have 144 vaccine candidates in clinical development and 195 vaccine candidates in preclinical development, okay? So that means although most of us are vaccinated, you must be seeing in the newspaper that we have got 100% vaccination we have achieved. Still, there is a research going on for newer and newer type of vaccines, okay? Scientists have not stopped. The research work is going on to find new candidate vaccines, okay? So I'll go to this slide to introduce to you the different types of COVID-19 vaccine platforms, okay? Now, in the previous slide, I showed you that you can use the whole virus in either attenuated form or a dead virus, okay? Or you can use parts of the virus, which is subunit, or you use only the genome of the virus, some part of the genome, okay? So these are the various platforms that are used for COVID-19. Nucleic acids, okay? Nucleic acids can be DNA or mRNA vaccines. Now the DNA vaccines are the Zydus cadila, which is the ZyCoV-D vaccine, which is the second indigenous vaccine manufactured developed and manufactured in India, okay, by Cadila, Zydus cadila. And it is the world's first COVID-19 DNA vaccine, which is plasmid based, okay. What is plasmid? It is extra chromosomal DNA. Then there is Inovio, which is also in clinical trials. So the other nucleic acid is the mRNA, okay. Now mRNA, already they have rolled out and millions of people have been vaccinated with the mRNA vaccines. That is Pfizer, BioNTech and the Moderna, okay. So these two giant pharmas are dealing with mRNA vaccines, and which are the first time for COVID-19 pandemic that we have ever used a mRNA vaccine, okay. The next platform is viral vector, okay. Now viral vector, what is a vector? A vector is a vehicle, okay, like to ferry something from one place to another. You sit in your bus and you came here from your school, okay. So what is the vector? The bus is a vector, okay. It is carrying you, dropping you here. So we need something which will carry the information to make the spike protein in that bus and then drop it into the human cell, okay. So that vector is called a viral vector. Now this viral vector can be replicating or non-replicating, okay. So usually we use non-replicating, okay, because we do not want that particular virus to grow and multiply in the body. And the vaccines which are rolled out are Johnson & Johnson, which is the Janssen, the Oxford Astrazeneca or the Covishield, which most of us in India have taken, the Covishield vaccine, is a viral vector which is non-replicating. And the Sputnik V, okay, the Convidecia, which is by CanSino Biologicals. So these are examples of non-replicating viral vector. The other one is a replicating viral vector where the virus will replicate, okay. So what is this non-replicating one? Most of these have used a virus called as a adenovirus, okay. And replicating are the intranasal lentivirus based vaccines, okay. Till now it is only in clinical trials. It is not yet out in the market. The other platform is the wild type of a virus where the whole virus is used. Wild type is entire virus is used. It can be live attenuated, live weakened, which I told you. How to weaken it? By passaging it through cell lines or through animal models. Or the inactivated virus. How can the virus be inactivated? It can be inactivated by either heat treatment, inactivate means dead, okay, by heat treatment, or by gamma irradiation, or by some chemicals like formalin or beta-propiolactone, okay. So one example of the inactivated virus is the Covaxin virus, which is the first indigenously developed vaccine, and now most of the 9th standard students and above are taking that Covaxin, okay. Then there is Sinovac, CoronaVac, and by Sinopharm, okay. Live attenuated vaccine is still in clinical trials, that is the Covivac by Codagenics and the Serum Institute of India, which is also making our Covishield, okay. And then there are the last type of platform, which is called a subunit virus vaccine. Here the entire virus is not used, only some part of the virus is used, okay. So mostly for COVID-19, we have protein subunits and we have VLP, virus-like protein particles, okay. So what are the protein subunit vaccines? They are the Novavax, okay. The Maryland-based company called Novavax, then the Sanofi Pasteur, And recently, 3 days back or 4 days back, you must have read in the newspaper, the biological Hyderabad-based company has rolled out the Corbevax, okay? And this vaccine has also been approved for use in children, which is a protein subunit vaccine, okay? And this technology is not new. The hepatitis B vaccine was also done by the protein subunit type of vaccine, okay? And then the last one is the virus-like particle, okay? You have seen the virus structure, no? The coronavirus you saw. So it has what? The genome, which is enclosed in a capsid, okay? So virus-like particle is the virus without the genome, okay? So since it doesn't have the genome, it cannot cause an infection, but it has all the structure of a virus. So therefore, it can elicit an immune response, okay? So virus-like particles is the CoVLP by Medicago, okay, as well as Exhalagen with Serum Institute of India. Where is this Serum Institute of India? Do you know? It is located in Pune, okay? So the previous slide has now introduced you to all the different platforms which are used for vaccine development in the COVID-19, okay? So now I will give you a brief overview of each of them. We said attenuated vaccines, which are what? Weakened vaccines, and they are weakened through animal models, okay? It's a well-known approach which requires time and extensive testing, okay? The immune response resembles to natural infection. And examples of this prior to COVID-19 were the oral polio vaccine, and in clinical trials are the Cogidenix vaccine. So what it does is, the attenuated virus enters the body. Because it's weakened, it cannot cause a full-fledged infection. It causes a mild infection. But our immune cells get primed to produce, immune cells are now detecting it as foreign, okay? And it starts mounting an attack. And what is the ammunition it uses? It uses antibodies, okay? So these antibodies will go and bind to the spike protein and block the COVID virus in attaching to the host cell receptors. Sorry. Okay. So weakened virus and the inactivated virus. We have seen both these. So inactivated virus is the killed virus. Now this virus can be killed by various methods I told you. Heat killed or gamma radiation or chemicals such as beta-propiolactone, okay, or formalin. So again, it's the same process. The virus is there, so the antigenic structure is intact, okay. The body will recognize it as foreign and start producing antibodies. These antibodies will attack the virus, okay. Examples of vaccines prior to COVID-19 using this technology are influenza virus, okay. And for COVID-19, it is Sinovac, Sinopharm, Bharat Biotech, Covaxin is example of an inactivated vaccine. Fine. So let us talk about the Bharat Biotech Covaxin. So this Bharat Biotech partnered with National Institute of Virology and the ICMR to develop an inactivated coronavirus vaccine called as Covaxin. And the Indian government has authorized the vaccine for emergency use as of January 3rd, okay. Now coronaviruses are grown how? Now viruses or coronaviruses, they cannot grow by themselves. They require a host cell. So if you want to make a large population of them, you have to use tissue culture, okay. And what type of cells you use? Some Vero cell lines are used, and they are treated with a chemical in order to inactivate it, and that is the beta-propiolactone. So what does this beta-propiolactone chemical does? It disables the coronaviruses by bonding to their genes. The inactivated coronavirus now cannot replicate, okay, and cannot cause a disease, but the antigenic structure is intact, okay, like the spike protein. Now one of the drawback of these vaccines is it requires maybe a booster. From time to time it requires a booster to keep the immunological memory alive. Also it requires, they are not highly immunogenic. So it requires additional substances, and these additional substances are called as adjuvants. Okay, they are aluminum based compounds, or like alum, etc. Algel. Okay, they are adjuvants. What do these adjuvants do? They stimulate the immune system to amplify the immune response. Okay. So once inside the body, some of the inactivated viruses are swallowed by a type of immune cells called as the antigen presenting cell. Then we see the subunit vaccines, which I told you, the recently released Corbevax by Biological E, okay, as well as the Novavax one belongs to the subunit vaccine, which is a protein subunit. And what is the protein? The spike protein, okay. So it contains the spike protein. So before COVID-19, it has been extensively used for hepatitis B vaccine, okay. So this is the Corbevax. This technology was developed by doctors Maria Elena Bottazzi and Peter Hotez, okay, from where? Texas Children's Hospital and the Baylor College of Medicine. And this technology was further developed by our very own Hyderabad-based vaccine and pharmaceutical company, Biological E, okay, and this is the Corbevax, which is the first indigenously developed receptor binding domain protein subunit vaccine, and rather the second indigenously developed vaccine, okay. So this is the Corbevax, which is for children between 12 to 18 years of age, fine, with an interval with a booster dose of 28 days. The next is the virus-like particles, okay. So these virus-like particles, I told you, are exactly like the virus but devoid of the genome. What is the genome? Either the RNA or the DNA. So they do not have that genome, okay. So but the antigenic structure is intact. So what happens is they have a good safety profile, okay. Why? Because they do not have the genetic information and therefore they cannot cause a disease, okay. However, the drawback is it is very complex in their development because assembly of such empty viral particles is technically quite challenging, okay. So now let us go to the viral vector vaccine, and the one that we have taken, that is Covishield, okay, is the viral vector vaccine. Now vector, as I told you, is a bus or a taxi, right? So therefore, what vectors are used here to harbor the coronavirus spike protein? Mostly a adenovirus vector has been used, okay. This vector is an unrelated harmless virus which is modified to deliver the SARS-CoV-2 genetic material, okay. Now what are the examples of this for human disease? Where the Ebola vaccine, okay, and approved in UK where the Astrazeneca and Oxford one, and approved elsewhere are the Janssen, that is the Johnson & Johnson, then CanSino and the Sputnik V by the Russian Gamaleya Foundation, okay. So this is the replicating viral vector. Replicating one will use a measles virus, and the non-replicating one, which we have used, the Covishield, is a adenovirus, okay. Now the problem with these is, with these vectors is, otherwise also adenoviruses can cause diseases in humans, okay, like a common cold. And so what happens is we tend to develop immunity against the adenovirus and not the genetic information there. And so therefore, in order to circumvent this problem, what the Covishield has done, it does not use a human adenovirus, but it uses a chimpanzee adenovirus, okay. So, and Johnson & Johnson and some other, the Sputnik V vaccine, what it does is, it uses two different types of adenovirus. The first dose uses one type of adenovirus, and the second dose uses a second type of a adenovirus, okay. So this is what an adenovirus is. It is a non-replicating chimpanzee adenovirus vectored vaccine expressing the COVID-19 spike 1. Okay, it is non-replicating because the E1 and the E3 genes have been deleted, And it induces strong B and T cell responses after even a single vaccination dose. So this is a double-stranded DNA virus, unlike your coronavirus, which is single-stranded RNA virus. Okay? So this is different. So this is the vector. Okay? So at this point, we have to remember the great work done by Dr. Sarah Gilbert, okay, professor of vaccinology at the Jenner Institute, Oxford University. She, together with her colleagues, designed the Astrazeneca vaccine. This technique was not developed in the last 2 years, okay? It was patented in 2016. The chimpanzee-derived adenoviral vector provided a platform to roll out cost-effective vaccines against emerging pathogens, okay? So sometimes people say, how come the COVID-19 vaccines were rolled out so fast, okay? Whereas other previous vaccines took years and years of research. They were able to roll out the vaccines quickly because this research was over 2 decades ago. People were working on such type of technology, okay? And then we come to the last platform, that is the nucleic acid vaccines, okay, which are the genetic vaccines. They are either the DNA or the mRNA vaccines, okay? So nucleic acids can be DNA vaccine or the RNA vaccine, which are mostly the mRNA. The DNA vaccine can be delivered through it's a needle-free jab, okay? You know, most vaccines are given intramuscularly through an injection, but this DNA vaccine can be given as a needle-free jab through one particular device called as an electroporator, okay, where it is intradermal, okay, not muscular, intradermal. So the coronavirus spike protein is enclosed in a plasmid DNA, and a process called as electroporation creates pores in the membrane in order to uptake this particular plasmid DNA, recombinant plasmid DNA. On the other hand, the RNA virus is enclosed in, now you remember, RNA is single-stranded, DNA is double-stranded. DNA is more stable as compared to RNA. So RNA can be degraded easily. Therefore, it has to be protected, okay, and it is protected using a lipid nanoparticle, okay, which are like an oily bubble. So the mRNA is enclosed in an oily bubble, okay, and then that gets across the antigen presenting cell and into the cells. So RNA and DNA based vaccines are safe to develop and easy to develop, okay, because you can make large quantities of it very quickly, because this mRNA is a synthetic mRNA, okay. So how do they work? The mRNA vaccines carry the genetic material that teaches our cells how to make a harmless piece of spike protein. So instead of transmitting the virus having the spike, okay, or the subunit, only the spike, what it does is it is sending the information required to make the spike into our body. And who makes the spike? The host cell makes the spike. So once the spike protein is made, our body recognizes it as foreign, and therefore we start mounting a immune response, okay. It can be both the cell-mediated immunity as well as the antibody-mediated immunity. mRNA vaccines are new, but the technology is not, okay. mRNA vaccines have been studied for influenza, Zika, rabies, and cytomegalovirus. Now at this point, I won't discuss this slide much in detail, but I will let you know what are the drawbacks of mRNA. And why wasn't mRNA used all this time before? mRNA is small, it is easily degraded, okay, and also mRNA tends to be immunogenic, okay. So what will happen? Our body will start attacking the mRNA before it can even translate it and make a protein, okay. So it was some scientists in 2005, okay, and I'll show you who is that scientist. It was Professor Caitlin Carrico, okay, who was even demoted at the University of Pennsylvania Okay, because this mRNA research at that time was found too radical and did not attract any funds. Okay, and why? Because she was working with mRNA, and mRNA itself was immunogenic. So the body was mounting a response against mRNA. But finally, in the year 2005, she found her eureka moment, okay, where she realized that if you tweak the bases in the mRNA, like the uridine, uracil, uridine can be tweaked to pseudouridine, okay, then you can prevent it from being immunogenic. So hardly noticed at that time, their discovery laid a foundation for using mRNA technology for COVID-19 vaccines. Okay. So this is the Zydus cadila plasmid-based vaccine. The ZyCoV-D vaccine is world's first DNA vaccine against COVID. It uses plasmids or small rings of DNA that contain genetic information to deliver the jab between two layers of the skin, which is the intradermal. Okay, it is India's first needle-free jab because it's intradermal using an electroporator. So now we are done with all the vaccines. We know what are the different platforms. And then came the vaccines came for the original ancestral Wuhan variant. Then we were challenged by different other variants, right? And we just got over with the Omicron variant. So are these vaccines useful against them? Yes, they are. Okay, their efficacy may be a bit low, but they are still effective. Okay, so why? Because the spike protein has undergone some mutations. They are not as efficacious as the rest, but still it can be effective. Fine. So how do we accommodate this variant so that the vaccines become equally challenging for them? By using multivalent vaccines that include both new and old forms of the spike protein in a single dose, and vaccines that target multiple sites on several viral proteins, in contrast to vaccines that target only the SARS-CoV-2 spike protein. Okay. So before I end my talk, let us see this particular slide. Okay. Now we know the pandemic has surely propelled several discoveries and breakthroughs, okay, in vaccine technology. And many of these breakthroughs are spearheaded by women scientists. Okay, very soon we are going to celebrate International Women's Day on 8th of March. So let us remember the scientists behind the vaccines. Okay, here it is Dr. Neeta Patel of Novavax, okay, which is the Maryland, USA based company which has come up with the Novavax. Then the Pfizer, that is Catherine Johnson & Johnson.
Students, if you have any questions with regard to vaccines, how the COVID vaccine works, ma'am has already explained, but if you have any other questions, you can ask. Or any doubts, whether you all are happy with it, not happy with it. Ma'am, I would like to ask a question. Why are many people afraid to take the COVID vaccine? Why many people around in India, many people are taking the vaccine, but in many parts of the world, like in Europe and USA, many people are not taking the vaccine. So they're very, very apprehensive, and they're actually having riots and all kind of things because of the vaccine. So why is this kind of thing being created with them?
Yeah. Vaccine hesitancy is there and has always been there even prior to COVID. Okay. Now that is because there are anti-vaxxers. They don't like this vaccine. They feel it leads to other types of diseases. And especially with COVID, people feel that these type of clinical trials have been fast-tracked. Okay, and therefore during anything which is fast-tracked, they feel the quality is compromised. So therefore there is a lot of anti-vaccine propaganda as well as vaccine hesitancy. Okay, but I wanted to bring it out in my talk that although these COVID-19 vaccines have been fast-tracked, the research behind it was not new. Okay, whether the viral vector or the mRNA technology is over 4 decades old by the lady Caitlin Carrico. Okay, so people are not aware. So generally it should be more awareness. Okay, for any vaccine also people are against it, some people. Yeah.
Any questions from the audience?
Side effects are always there for a vaccine. People are also scared of side effects. Okay, so anything foreign leads to side effect. Any drug also leads to side effect. We cannot rule out. And how a person will face that vaccine, how his immune system will accept that vaccine also differs. The response differs from person to person.
What is the meaning of variant?
Okay. We have a original strain. Okay. Now over a period, now these are RNA viruses. Okay. RNA is, as I told you, not stable. How RNA makes copies of itself by an enzyme called as RNA dependent RNA polymerase. Now this RNA polymerase can make mistakes. Okay. It is not having high fidelity. So therefore, as it is infecting so many people, it tends to accumulate, it is replicating very fast, okay? It's making copies of itself very fast. So during this process, as we know that RNA polymerase is not having high fidelity, it is error prone, it acquires mutations. So when many mutations have acquired, it leads to a variation from the original strain, and therefore it is called a variant. So we have two types of variants. One is the variant of interest, okay, when we first notice that it has caused so many mutations. And then when we know that this variant of interest is causing an enhanced type of a disease, whether it is higher transmissibility or something else, then we call it a variant of concern. Yeah. Have you got it? Any other question? Yes, please.
Hello, ma'am. Thank you for such a lovely presentation. I just wanted, you to shed some light on the fact that there is a lot of confusion and concern about the effect of COVID-19 vaccines on women's fertility and the menstrual cycle, because there is a lot of anecdotal things that we're hearing that there has been some sort of effect on the menstrual cycle, or somebody has face problems and things like that. And as a society, we are very concerned about fertility. So since the students are there, you maybe are the best person to shed some light about the myths and some things about this. So
yeah, thanks for the question. Yeah, it's a very important question. Okay, see, the technology used in vaccines, especially the COVID-19 ones, we said whether the ones we have taken Covishield and all, they are new. Okay, they have been in clinical use only now in the pandemic. So far, what we were looking for is the efficacy of the vaccine. Means how good is this vaccine in combating the coronavirus, the SARS-CoV-2 virus, whether it is a neutralizing type of response or an immune response. Okay. Now the effects of these on the menstrual cycle, we are with lot of data is emerging that some are saying the menstrual cycle is delayed or it is prolonged. Okay, so now that data will come up now. So what research was done to give you a vaccine was how efficacious that vaccine is in combating the virus. Now, as I said, there are side effects for everything. Okay, these side effects can be short term or they can be long term. So now studies are still emerging. Okay, it's not finalized. Mostly it will have no effect, but there are certain studies which are reporting that it is affecting the menstrual cycle. Okay, so, but it is not conclusive. The research is not yet conclusive, and such results we will know only after a few years of time. Okay, but it has been declared as safe even in pregnant and breastfeeding women. Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, thank you all for your patient listening.
Sir has a question.
Thank you, Professor Judith, for a wonderful lecture on COVID and what are the different types of vaccines. So thank you for updating our knowledge based on all these things. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to request sir to present a memento to ma'am as a token of appreciation. Thank you, sir. And I would like to ask Bhakti to present a memento to sir for being the chairperson of this session. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, so we'll just have a short movie screening for you all, after which we will proceed for lunch. And then after lunch, we will be heading to the expo. And after the expo, we have planned a trip to ICAR. Okay, so all of you will be, we'll be taking you all together. And the volunteers will help you around as well. So for the time being, remain seated. And we will inform you when the lunch break will start.